I wanted to see what Senga was going to do his second year, his sophomore year, because I said it to you, Speedy. I believe Senga was going into the season last year. I thought he was going to be the best pitcher for the Mets. I did, because the way he pitches, the way he deceives and hides the ball, I thought teams and a lot of a lot of hitters were going to have problems seeing him and seeing the ball. And now you're going into your second year. That's when we see these Japanese pitchers either fall off. Look at Tanaka. Masahiro Tanaka was a good major league pitcher for the Yankees, but his first year, he was dominant. His second year, his sophomore year, wasn't as good. And maybe because of the partial tear in his UCL, he never got the surgery. Maybe it was that. But teams started to see him more and more. They had video. They had footage of him. And they can watch the way he deceives and he throws the ball. Now, Jacob deGrom, now obviously he's not a Japanese pitcher. Jacob deGrom pitched the same way he did for years. And people couldn't read his pitches, couldn't find his curveball, couldn't find his changeup, which he had probably the most dominant changeup I've ever seen. So, and something what Senga is good at, his number one pitch is his changeup. And it's very deceiving. But I wanted to see him in his sophomore year. Now you're missing him for a year. For a month, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. With the shoulder fatigue, that usually, we've heard this, but believe it or not, there's a Yankee pitcher that's on this Mets rotation in Savarino. We heard shoulder fatigue, and then we heard shoulder surgery. Then he came back, and then he had a UCL tear, and he was out a significant amount of time. This is not a good sign for the New York Mets.
And fatigue is the other thing that dealt with Noah Syndergaard for a while with his shoulder. And I mean, he's a bigger, different body type. He's a lot bigger than Senga, so it's not ideal for that, especially the season. He decided to randomly work out and show off his muscles, and then he gets hurt again. But nevertheless, definitely not a good sign when it comes to somebody like Senga. The Mets did well in certain instances of not pitching him as many innings, but still, they're going to have to do it more because they don't have a lot of other trustworthy options in this rotation. If you're going to take another step as a major league pitcher, especially Senga, who's older too, I think he's 30 years old. And again, he's not coming in with a lot. He's coming in with a lot of miles on his arm from Japan. That's not going to help.
Lots of miles.
That's not going to help his cause long term for what the Mets need him to be, which they need him to be an ace realistically.
Just think about this. Yamamoto, he came in Japan. He became a professional at the age of 15 years old.
Yep.
How old is Yamamoto right now? He's 25 years old. Look at how much stress he has on that shoulder, on that elbow, on that arm. Now, we've seen this with Ohtani. He's a fantastic pitcher, fantastic hitter. And even if Ohtani never pitches again, he's a fantastic power hitter. He's a two-dimensional type of player. So you don't need to see him pitch. He still dominate the game by the way he hits the ball, with power, with his batting average, with everything that he does in the game. When you look at these guys, when you look at Yamamoto, you look at Senga, and all these other guys that are coming up from Japan, they're pitchers. That's all they are. And when you look at the torque they have on their arms and the way they throw the ball, I've never seen Japanese pitchers are so the way they throw the ball is so deceiving. Okay, they hide the ball so much by the way they throw their changeups and their curveballs. That's why they're so good in the major leagues. That's why they dominate the World Baseball Classic, because none of these hitters get a chance to see these guys all year long. And then they come into the major leagues, they see them 1 year, and then the second and third years, they figure them out. They start seeing them better, and they start hitting the ball all over the field. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Senga. I don't know if that's going to happen with Yamamoto. And look at Ohtani. Ohtani pitched better this year than he did the last 2 years. So maybe Ohtani's starting to figure out how to pitch against these hitters in the major leagues. But Ohtani's also a professional. You know what I mean? So these guys are coming into the league. Look at Senga. Senga came into the league at the age of 27. 28 years old. Yeah. And with the torque that he had, he became a professional Japanese pitcher at 17 years old, Senga. So that's 10 years of torque on his arm significantly. So that's what, if I was a Met fan, I would worry about this.
Right, especially when you have to rely on it being a major focal point of your team, because the Mets were supposed to be rumored for so many different other pitchers this offseason, and obviously they're going to be in a rumor for all the big names because Uncle Stevie could pay everybody too. And what did they end up getting? Not much of anything, because they had to trade for Adrian Hauser, who I like as a backup guy.
Still believe Corbin Burns could be a Met.
Okay.
No, I do. Okay. I don't care what anybody says. The Orioles have new ownership and they're going to pay Corbin Burns. I don't believe that, because Uncle Stevie will open up his pockets, and if he wants Corbin Burns, he'll get Corbin Burns. If he wants Fried, he'll get Fried. He could get whoever he wants. And I believe the Mets next year, are going to open up their pockets wide open.